welcome to the Waffle podcast. My name is Liz. I am a knitting and crochet designer living in York in the UK with my 3 Bengal cats, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I have been making and creating over the past couple of weeks. It has been a while since my last episode, and that is not due to the reasons I said there might be a gap in recording, which is getting a new roof. That still has not happened. In fact, they are apparently due to put scaffolding up this week, but it is now Wednesday the 19th of May, I think, and there is no sign. But it is fairly early in the morning, so hopefully they don't appear in the middle of this. Although, if there's like a dramatic weird cut and a change of camera angle, I'm bidding on a spinning wheel on eBay that finishes in about 2 hours. So if I have to dash to up my bid on that, you know where I've gone. You may notice there's a bit of change of scenery. I've moved sort of podcasting corner because I wanted to get somewhere with a bit better light, and this area, which is behind the sofa where I normally sit, gets really good natural light. So I've redecorated this shelving unit, which was pretty much a dumping ground. Sorry. So I have redecorated this shelving unit, which is pretty much a dumping ground by the front door, into a nice, prettier podcasting space, and hopefully the cats don't destroy it too much. The cat couch is back. I don't know if you can see Puka just down here. I might have to tilt the camera down a little bit more. You'll lose the top of my head, but you gain a cat. I think that's a bargain. If I move back a bit. Whoop. There you go. Now you get a Puka. Hey, Puka Puka. The only other slight problem is I'm on a swivel chair. And I'm a bit of a twizzler when it comes to swivel chairs. Oh, and I'm going to knock everything off the bookcase. I'm adjusting to the new set. It's not going particularly well. Hang fire one moment and I will be back with finished objects and hopefully this framed a little bit better. It only just dawned on me I could move the chair up and down. I'm a professional. Okay, so I have quite a few finished objects. I haven't been doing that much knitting while I've been not very well. I've been doing more spinning than knitting. And mainly the knitting that I have been doing is like on my mitered square blanket and things like that. But bits have been done. And there are some finished objects. Finished object number 1 is the Icinkles socks. I shall put the pattern details and everything on the screen there. And these are knit out of a mini set, and it was the January colourway from Ducky Darling's Mystery Yarn Club this year, which is based on sweet treats, and this was apple pie. So the mini skein was this yellow colour, and then this beautiful green was the main colour. And I went for the BFL base, so it's slightly woollier than the normal. So it's slightly woollier than the 75-25. Are you going to settle down, Jax? Good boy. Please settle down. He's only broken one plant pot from here already. I mean, it was my favourite one, but it's still only one. You're a good boy. So yeah, this is from a set of 4 patterns that all have this sort of cabling and mosaic knitting design on them, and they're all designed to use sock sets. It's a great set of pattern. I have all 4, and I'm really excited to cast on another pair from the set, which I think is going to be... There's one that sort of looks like seaweed or octopus tendrils coming up from the toe. So the patterning is at the bottom of the foot rather than at the top of the cuff. So I'm really excited to cast those on. Sorry about grumbling cats. Yeah, these are the Icinkles socks. They are finished and I really, really like them. I've talked more about these on previous episodes. But we've got a lot to get through today, so just giving them a flash as a finished object. Okay, the next finished objects, and I have 2 finished headbands. The first of these is the I Love Cables headband, which is the pattern I chose for the last episode, the April episode of my Spin to Knit series, which is on this channel. This was knit in handspun. Obviously, you can watch the whole process from start to finish in that episode. I'll put a card in here if I remember. And yeah, this is a pattern. It's lovely sort of heart-shaped cables, and the handspun was from fibre from John Arben in their Devonia range. And what colour was it? I feel like it was got like snow ash or something. It's showing up as grey, but it's actually a very, very light blue grey, and it's quite heathered. The fibre has some Wensleydale in, which gives it some sheen and yeah, and a little bit of halo to it. Yeah, it's a really beautiful cable pattern. Absolute joy to knit, and it was a really quick knit, so it made for a simple spin to knit episode when I was just starting to feel not very well. But also during that episode I gave a little bit of a demonstration on how to cable without a cable needle, because that is how I do my cables now. And in order to do that, I didn't want to show any of the chart, although this pattern actually isn't charted, it's just written instructions. So if you don't particularly like working from a chart, it's a great cable pattern to go for. I worked up a very simple, similar headband pattern with using the most basic cables that I could show in that cabling without a cable needle little tutorial. They're not tutorials that I put into the Spin to Knit video because I don't have the authority to give tutorials. Yeah, it's just I'm showing what I do, and if it's any help to anybody else, then that's great. But yeah, so I cast this on to use as the sample for that bit, and then I just finished it and made another headband. So I actually have two. I'm not a big headband wearer, but the yarn, the handspun yarn, is so nice that these actually do keep my head as warm as wearing a hat would. So thumbs up from me, big fan. Yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to release this as a pattern yet. It's very simple, and that sort of puts me off, but then Jax has just jumped above my head. Hang on 1 minute. I know I've said this before on a podcast, but seriously, does anybody want a cat? You pest. You're a pest. Yeah, I don't know. I might type it up and put it up as a free pattern, or I might send a call out for testers. Jax is just going to cause hell now. Hopefully cat drama has calmed down a little bit. I'm sure there's going to be more grumbling in the background. But yeah, I was talking about this pattern. Which is the sample piece that I did for the cabling without a cable needle in the latest Spin to Knit video. Not sure if I'm going to actually release it as a pattern. If you'd be interested, do leave me a comment, and I might well type it up and release it as a free pattern, or get it tech edited and tested and release it as a paid for pattern. But yeah, no, it's far too exciting that we've got new shelves of new things to knock off, isn't it? It's too exciting. Hang on. Oh. Yeah. That might keep him busy for all of 2 minutes. And the third finished object, I thought there was more, but this is all I've packed in the podcast basket, so he's doing it mainly because I'm talking. Okay, yeah, last finished object for today is, I'm going to ignore the fact that there's still ends to weave in, because I think I might want to reblock this. This is my spark sweater. Don't actually know if we're going to be able to get it all in. There we go. So it's got this lovely rainbow colour work throughout. Fairly glorious. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I should put all the details as per usual on the screen. It is an all over colour work pattern. Mine is knit in handspun, which is the rainbow colour, and then the grey is a yarn from Woolly Knit, which is their DK 100% British wool, and you get a big 400 gram skein for not a lot of pennies. The fibre that I used for the handspun is a naturally grey Corriedale base, and it was from Debs of Crafty Cat Knitty Bits on Instagram, or she has a folksy shop and she's just rebranded as the Fibre Fairy. I'll mention more about her later because there's a little bit of acquisitions, because there has to be. But yeah, this is my finished spark sweater. Hang on, here. This is probably the best place to put it here. I spun separately for the sleeves to try and match the gradient, and on one sleeve I managed it fairly well, almost too well, and on the other sleeve not so much. It's not bad, to be fair. I don't think anybody's gonna squabble about it. But yeah, I was unsure throughout whether this would fit, because when I started it, I didn't think I would have enough yarn of this rainbow. So I started it in a smaller size with the intention of giving it to my younger sister, who is a smaller dress size than me. But then I contacted Debs and she was actually able to dye up some more fibre to match for me, which was just amazing. So then I was able to increase, and what I actually did is the yoke is pretty much the smaller size. I think it's the second or third size, and then I actually increased under the yoke to make it bigger for the body for me, because I have a big body. And yeah, until I actually blocked it and tried it on, I wasn't 100% sure whether it would fit. Yes, I could have tried it on throughout, but what is life without surprises? And yes, it does fit. It fits perfectly, and I would be wearing it now, but I'm actually dressed for grubbing out the garden, which my other sister, my older sister, is coming over to help grub out the garden, and I literally only dashed on to podcast because Puka was asleep and looking really cute. If I get a chance, I will put in some pictures of me dancing around in this. Otherwise, you will see me wearing it on another episode soon, I'm sure. Although it is getting warmer, so it might be autumn before you see me wearing it on an actual episode. But yeah, it's lovely. With it being all over colour work, it is a really warm sweater, but doesn't feel too heavy. It's got quite a nice bit of drape to it. It's just really lovely. I'm really chuffed with it. Yep. So my spark sweater. And that is it for finished objects. So I will see what we have for works in progress. Okay, works in progress. So I picked out 3 works in progress to show you today. These have been getting the main amount of work on. The only other bits that I've been working on really is there's a couple of pairs of vanilla socks that I'll show you at some point, and my mitered square blanket, which has been getting quite a lot of work on it. Thank you so much to the people who responded to my call out for minis on the last episode. Your parcel arrived while I was quite poorly with COVID, and they really did cheer me up. They really did. They were absolutely lovely. And they gave me a lot of motivation to work on that, and that the second third of that blanket is getting there. It is nearly finished. I think I've only got about 50 squares to go. But yeah, when I finish that second third, I will show you it again on the podcast. But yeah, the works in progress I've got to show you today are 2 new cast-ons, both for Spin to Knit episodes, and one that you've seen before. And I'll show you the one that you've seen before, because I feel like I've been working on this for quite a while. It's probably been less than a year, but it's still quite a while. So this is my For Fox's Sake sweater. It is a pattern by Maxim Sear. I should put all the details on the screen here. And this is a colourwork yoke sweater that I have now finished the body of. And you see it. I have finished the body, I have done the hem, and I have steeked it. So you can pretty much see it's the inside of my colourwork. So I'm going to turn this into like a cardigan jacket type thing. So I steeked it. Now I had to put in a steeking panel, so I knew where I was going to steek it. And all I did to do that was just in between the two foxes at the front, I did a panel of 9 stitches, and then I steeked down the middle. So this is now this will get turned under, and I shall pick up the button band. And I am on to the sleeves. It is really awkward to show you this. But yeah. So the colourwork for this yoke is 3 colour stranded colourwork throughout. So this yoke is bulletproof. It is really thick. Especially as I have done the ladder back jacquard technique. You can probably see those stockinette ladders on the back there. Because there are some fairly long floats in it as well. It is a bit puckered at the moment, but that will block out. That is just the ladders on the back pulling it in slightly, but there is a lot of stretch in it. It's not tight at all. So that will pull out. So this is being knit in Drops Lima. That's the dark grey. Can't remember the colour number, but I might make Editing Liz look it up and put it on the screen. She might be too lazy to do that. She's been poorly. The sort of petrol blue is also Drops Lima, and also the cream is as well. Then there is some hand-dyed DK in a grey sort of speckled colour that I dyed, and the sort of orange around the foxes is a colour called Tabby Cat by Stranded Dye Works, also in a DK way. And so yeah, I steeked it. I steeked it probably when I shouldn't have done, when I was in the middle of being not very well, and it was also quite late at night and I didn't have very good natural light. But I thought, I had just finished the body, one of those knitting sessions where it's like, I've only got a few more rows to do, I'll do it before I go to bed. And I should have gone to bed and steeked the next day, but I didn't. I did it that night because why not? So yeah, so if I can steek a garment while late at night, low light and not very well, you can steek a garment. So at the moment I am knitting the sleeves, and I decided to knit them 2 at a time. Not on the same needle. I've got them on 2 16-inch circulars, and what I'm doing is I'm knitting to a decrease on one, and then I'm knitting to a decrease on the other, blah 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 blah. A second. Sorry, my phone buzzed and I'm about 20 minutes away from winning that spinning wheel on eBay, so I'm just like, ah! It's my dream spinning wheel. It's a spinning wheel that I wanted when I first was going to get a full-size wheel, and it's going for the cheapest price. Mainly because it's missing a few bits, but I actually have those bits, so fingers crossed. It's an Ashford Elizabeth, by the way, but because narcissist and I want a spinning wheel with the same name as me. Anyway, back to the For Fox's Sake. I love this, but I kind of want it to be done. It's just stockinette in the round, but it's sleeves, and they do feel like they're taking quite a while. I think I have no idea what Jax is doing. I might be able to put this on. Oh, I've already got my other sleeves on this big bulky jumper. Oh no. Jax is playing with my keys, which are now in the bin. So So this is going to look pretty bulky because I've got it under my other big jumper. But yeah, I'm getting there with the sleeves. There isn't that much further to go. And I am decreasing rather rapidly on them. I'm not 100% following the pattern at this point. I picked up the amount of stitches that I had on hold, and then I think I cast on about 12 underneath the arm, just because I always like to have a bit more underneath the arm. Patterns where it just says pick up 1 or 2 stitches, you're going to end up with holes under your arms, so I'd always pick up more. And then I just started decreasing. I think I just started decreasing every 8 rows, and that wasn't decreasing fast enough, so I went to decreasing every 6 rows. And I'm going to continue until I get to 60 stitches for the cuff, or near or thereabouts. But yeah, so next job is to pick up the neckband when I've finished the sleeves, and knit a 1x1 rib, and then pick up the band down the front, and then find some buttons for it. And I should have some buttons lurking about in stash. I did used to work in a button shop. But yeah, I did consider putting in a zip and actually making it into a bit of a hoodie. But I don't know. I think maybe just a nice cardigan is the way to go with this. It's rather lovely, isn't it? But yeah. And one of the things I really love about this is this line of colour work that transitions it into the body is like little mountain peaks. And I just think that's so lovely. But yeah. Oh, if I could take this off without losing stitches, it'll be a miracle. Work in progress number 2 is a new cast on, and it is in this pumpkin bag, which, to say it's spring, this is not really fitting the season. But when you see the yarn in here, it fits it. And this is a project for an upcoming episode of Spin to Knit. And it is the Botanic Shawl by Stephen West. This pattern has been on my list of things I really want to knit since as soon as it came out. I mean, it's definitely a bit of me, is this pattern. It's a lot of garter, but it also has that bit of mosaic knitting in it. So it's just so and I decided I wanted to make it for a Spin to Knit episode because one of the recommended yarns for the colour section is a crazy Zauber ball, and I thought that would be really fun to try and spin something very similar to that. So a 2-ply yarn but with lots of colour variation in it. You do need 200 grams of a solid colour and 200 grams of a variegated colour for this shawl, so it's a 4-skein shawl, so it's going to be huge. And I'll show you the yarns first because look at these big cakes. So these are the yarns. They are handspun, obviously, and the green is a fibre by Woolly Knit. They were doing some really lovely fibres, but they've actually stopped doing them now. But this is a bottle green. It's pretty accurate colour there. And this one is the variegated yarn. So I made this using a pack of little mini bumps of fibre from World of Wool. It was their Autumn Leaves colourway pack that I've used before in the first episode of Spin to Knit for the Oak Hollow mitts, and I had an extra pack. So what I did was I split all the little bumps of fibre into 2 and completely separated them. So I had half one side and half the other side, and those are going to be my 2 plies. Then how I treated each half was slightly differently. So the first half, I just ripped up randomly into big chunks, little chunks, split them horizontally and vertically, and I put them all into a mixed bag, and I just picked out at random and spun whatever came. So completely randomly. The second half, I split each piece vertically into 4, and I arranged them as a gradient. Yeah, so I had one bobbin that was completely random and one bobbin that was a gradient, and when I applied them together I have these, which is, if I show you how it's knitting it up, you'll get an idea of what's happening. So I haven't got very far with it. Let me just put these back in the bag. And it's basically a combination of garter ridges and stockinette with these slipped mosaic stitches, which gives you this sort of geometric lines to it, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So it's exactly the same shape as the night shift shawl, which I did, but I think you can see there is some sort of gradation in the colours, but then there's some random bits coming in. I'm loving this. It's kind of all I want to knit on. It's so relaxing. If you've bought this pattern and you've had a look at it, the pattern repeat looks really long. I think it looks like it's about 24 rows, if not longer. But actually, all you're really doing is the same 4 rows over and over again. And then every now and then, you're putting in one of these mosaic slip stitches. So it gives you another lined section. And I just think it is absolutely glorious. This is definitely a bit of a selfish knit because these are my colours. Like dark green and oranges, it's just my colours. Yeah, I'm knitting it on higher steels 4mm at the moment. The pattern calls for 3.75, but I just went up that extra size. One, because I didn't have a 3.75 spare when I wanted to cast this on, and I've just been whacked in the face by the needle. And two, the multicoloured yarn is probably more of a sport weight than a fingering weight. The green is definitely fingering weight, but this is more of a sport weight. It is not a bother for the pattern. I just wanted to go up a needle size so that the fabric wouldn't be dense. It would be nice and drapey and loose, and that's what it is. It is beautifully drapey. Because this is a 2-ply hand spun, it is very textured, but it feels bouncy and soft. It is a 100% merino throughout. Both the fibres that I spun were 100% merino. Not a super wash, so I will have to be a bit careful when it comes to washing it, but I can live with that. But yeah, it is lovely and soft and squishy and bouncy, and it's going to take a while to knit, but I'm going to love every single. And this pumpkin bag is one that I made. These are the sweater bags that I make out of tea towels. I am supposed to be sewing some more and bobbing some in my Etsy shop. I just have not had a chance. I do have a stack of tea towels though, some amazing ones. So the last finished object I have to show you is in this really lovely Space Rockets bag. Hang on. This doesn't look cool. I should put the Etsy shop details on the screen. I feel like it's something like Candy Skull Craft Shop or something like that. Who knows? But in here is another pattern for Spin to Knit episode, and that is for this month's Spin to Knit episode. And it is again a 2-ply fingering weight, but it is a slightly different pattern. So shout if you recognise the pattern. So this is the Alaska hat pattern. I shall put all the details on the screen there. And this pattern, I always think of it as like my knitting kryptonite. I cannot avoid this pattern. I constantly think of yarn that I could use for it. I've knit it twice. I have failed twice. I didn't enjoy knitting it either of the previous times. Yet I keep thinking of what yarn I could use to knit it again. Now, the first time I knit this hat, I was very much a beginner knitter and very much beginner to colour work, and this has some really long floats in it, really long. It is also a long repeat that doesn't really have any logic to it, and I'm very much a person that works with logic. So, yeah. I think I ended up having to cut some of the long floats in my first version. If I can find a picture, I probably will have a picture somewhere. I'll put it on the screen. And I used a drops single yarn for the colour work, and then a drops baby alpaca for the main colour, which was a huge mistake. They just weren't compatible as yarns at all, and it just, yeah. It got blocked, it got gifted, or given away gratefully. Because I never wanted to see it again. But yeah, probably a couple of years after knitting that first one, I knit it again, and I knit it in a lighter colour. I think it's a grey, and again a drops fable. I knit it in a grey and again a drop single ply as the background colour, but this time I added in snow so that my floats wouldn't be quite so long. I didn't particularly enjoy knitting it that second time either. I still wasn't particularly very good at colour work, and it is again a bit tight, and I do still have that one upstairs actually. I should get it, but I should put a picture in, that'll be easier than running upstairs now and disturbing the cats when they're finally settled. But yeah, I am always on the lookout for some sort of sunset gradient yarn in order to knit this again. And so when I started spinning, and especially when I started the Spin to Knit series, I knew this hat was going to be on it very quickly. It was one of the first things I wanted to do, and I considered using minis. I considered so many things of how to create this sunset yarn, and in the end I contacted Debs, who I mentioned earlier. She is the Fibre Fairy on Folksy or Crafty Cat Knitty Bits on Instagram, and she did the rainbow yarn for my Sparky. She is brilliant at dyeing fibre into gradients. I sent her a picture of this hat and I said I'm interested in getting some fibre custom dyed with a sunset. And I think I showed the braids a few episodes ago that she made for me. So she dyed up a 100-gram braid with half of the contrast colour and then half was a rainbow. So in that whole 100-gram braid you could spin and knit the hat. She dyed me up two different skeins, two very different. One was this navy blue and this sort of very bright sort of forest fire sunset. And the other one is a brown and then more sort of autumnal tones in the sunset, which is right up my street. I've chosen to knit this one for the episode because I just think the contrast is absolutely beautiful. And I am actually spinning the second braid for me, and if I may well just cast it on as soon as I finish this one. So I can actually show at least some of it when I go to film the end of that episode. Okay, sorry if there's a weird jump in this. The battery may have cut me off and I'm not 100% sure, so if I haven't finished what I'm saying, I'll try and repeat it. So I did do this a little bit differently this time, mainly because I knew where I was going to have problems was the colour work. So I decided to start with provisional cast on and then do the ribbing after I had finished the colour work. This time around, I found the colour work really simple. And that is because I used a combination of stranded colour work and the jacquard ladderback technique, which I know I go on about all the time, but it is the best thing that's happened to me to colour work. And you can see where I've done it on the back there. I've only used it in those big sections between the trees, and it is puckering a little bit at the minute, and that some of that texture is from the handspun as well, and it will block out. The other thing that I did is that I knit the colour work inside out, so like this. So I was working along the inside. It did keep wanting to twist and right itself, but just by doing this on the stranded bits, because it's going around the outside of a circle rather than the inside of a circle, it naturally makes your floats longer without you having to even think about it. It's just something that naturally happens in a circle when you're working in the round, which is pretty cool. So I did have fun with my provisional cast on. It didn't go to plan. Yeah, I did film a little piece where we going, provisional cast ons are really easy, and then had to film a piece going, don't listen to me. I've literally had to unpick every single stitch. But yeah, now I'm just doing the 1x1 rib to finish it off, and I will go as long as the navy yarn allows me. Should be able to do a nice turn up brim. But yeah, it's really enjoyable to knit the ribbing at the end, because as you're going around you're just looking at this beautiful sunset gradient. Just really enjoyable. So yeah, I shall knit as far as I can have. I do have some of the sunset gradient left. I didn't quite get to the purple section in it, but I will use this for a pom-pom to finish it off. And this episode of Spin to Knit will be up the last Thursday or Friday of this month of May. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy that. That is it for works in progress. Little bit of spinning to show you. I have 1, 2, 3 finished skeins here to show you. I have nothing else. I did spin pretty much a sweater's quantity for that botanic shawl, so. I think you saw this one when it was on the wheel. This is the pomegranate colour, again from Debs, the Fibre Fairy. She just does the best gradients, and I can't help but spin them as soon as I get them. I know this was a different fibre to one that I've spun before. I want to say it was a Jacob, but I will check and pop it on the screen. And yeah, the colourway was pomegranate, and it sort of goes from red to orange to yellow to apple green. It is a traditional 2-ply, and it is a very fine fingering weight, almost a lace weight. I think I got about 500 yards. But I will be hopefully using it as the colourwork in a yoke, but more on that in the acquisition section. Next up is this one. This is yarn I dyed myself, and it's kind of a coral and navy. It's muted down quite a lot, and it is a traditional 3-ply, a fractal spun 3-ply. I was test spinning for the new Andrew Mowry cowl. Hang on. Didn't win the spinning wheel. Never mind. Money saved. Yeah, so this was fibre that I dyed, and I think it's the mixed British breeds that World of Wool do, just their undyed mixed breed fibre. And I was test spinning colours in 3-plies for the new Andrea Mowry shawl. I want to say it's the Inclination shawl, but I don't know if it is called that. I'll pop a picture on the screen. But yeah, I really want to do like navy with sort of pops of peach for my one. But this muted the colours out ever so slightly, so I'm going to try dyeing something else and going again with that one. But this is really lovely. And my third spin that I have to show you, the third spin I have to show you is this one. And this is the first time I ever spun mohair. Yeah, it has not been washed or thwacked yet, so it's not as fluffy as it's going to end up. It's also a little bit thicker than I would like it to be. So this was my first time spinning mohair. It went okay. It's definitely an interesting spinning experience. It's got a lot longer staple length than the Angora had when I tried to spin that by itself. So it's a bit of a simpler spin, but it is, I suppose just saying it's quite sharp would be a good thing. It's got a similar sort of feel to linen in a way. I didn't get it as fine as I would like. I'm going to go again and give it another go. But yeah, this is mohair. It is the kid silk mohair. You can also get a sheep mohair, which I think is not as soft, but it's also slightly cheaper. So I might get some of that one to try next. But yeah, little skein of mohair. It's lace weight in places, but basically it's a fingering weight. It would probably work as to make something fluffy. But yeah, I did enjoy spinning it, and I will spin it again. That is all the spinning. There are a few acquisitions, not many. Not many. I do have 2 skeins of British 2-ply fingering weight wool from Woolly Knit. These do smell lovely and sheepy. This is the same yarn that I am knitting my Baltain batwing top out of. And I picked up these 2 when they were on offer. They were doing... Hello, darling. No, you can't go up there, but you can go there. You can't go up there. So I picked these up when they were on offer. It was 2 for £15. So that's 400 grams of British wool for £15, which is pretty incredible. Yeah, going by how I'm getting on with my yardage in the Baltain sweater, with it being such a huge batwing sweater, I reckon 200 grams of this is enough for a colourwork sweater for me. So that's why I picked up these two, because I want to use one of them with this pomegranate. So I think the dark green and it is going to have a similar effect to my botanic shawl that I'm knitting at the moment, but this is going to probably be a bit more subtle. And the patterns I'm looking at are Silver Linings by Jennifer Steingass, or there's another one where the colourwork comes from the bottom up. I shall put the pictures on the screen. So let me know which pattern you think I should do and which colour, the green or the light grey. I think either is going to look absolutely lovely. And yeah, the one that I don't use with this will probably get used with another handspun very soon. I apologise for the rustling, but the other yarny acquisition I have is this pack of minis from Giddy Yarns. This is her Narnia collection, and she gifted me this for a thank you for knitting a sample for her show that she went to. Was it the East Anglia Yarn Fest? And I knit her the Stormy Shawl by Hokey Loke Kelly. I'll put a picture in. And yeah, this was my thank you, which I haven't cracked into yet, but now I've shown it to you, I can wind them up and get them into my Malted Spur blanket. It's really rattly. Finally, I have some fibre acquisitions from Debs, the Fibre Fairy. Mainly I wanted to get hold of something with her new branding on, but it's always a good excuse to get some more fibre. This one is called Wild Daffodils, and it is an interesting mix. It has got some linen and silk in it, so this should be an interesting one to spin. It also has like these pops of bright orangey coral, and I did think this might be quite good for my inclination shawl. Maybe. I'll be doing a fractal, no, maybe not a fractal 3-ply, but I'll be definitely doing a 3-ply depending on how fine I can get the fibre. And Debs also threw in this lovely stitch marker. Yeah, this lovely stitch marker of the mushrooms, which is her new branding, Fibre Fairy. And a little notebook as well. So sweet. So this was the other one that I got, which again is another gradient. It's sort of purples and blues and yellows. The colourway is called Mountain Flowers, and the... So I'm trying to read the writing. The colourway for this is called... Oh dear. The colourway for this is called Mountain Flowers, and again it has some silk content in this fibre, so it should be really nice to spin. But yeah, mainly I just wanted an excuse to have something with her new branding on. But Deb's fibre does not hang around long, it gets spun very, very quickly. Yeah, the cat's going to have another Barney. And I have to swaddle Jax because he's being naughty. Occasionally he gets swaddled. He won't leave Cal alone. So yeah, we get a baby angry Jax for you. Really angry face. No darling, you're not going anywhere. But that is it for acquisitions. There isn't really much waffle this week. To be honest, I haven't been up to anything. I've been in the house for the best part of 2-3 weeks, trying not to go insane with the cats. Really haven't done anything. Yeah, the roof work on my house hasn't started. So I'm swaying now. The roof work on my house hasn't started yet, and the scaffolding is due to go up this week, so it should be 2 to 3 weeks. But now I have this area set up for recording. It shouldn't disturb the recording schedule too much, because I can record here quite early in the morning before they start work or after they finish work, because it gets good light throughout most of the day. But yeah, apparently after that I'm getting a new bathroom. Very exciting. But it was peaceful while you were there, Jax. But yeah, other than that, nothing really exciting has happened. A load of my crochet work got lost in the post, so I'm having to remake that. Great fun. Don't. Royal Mail. What's going on with Royal Mail at the moment? Yeah, crochet work is busy. Been off home since a while because I've been poorly. Cats have been a comfort and driving me insane at the same time. Jax is currently given up until he thinks I've stopped, and then he'll attack again. You silly kitten. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there for today. My sister is due in a minute. Didn't win the spinning wheel. Sad. It sold for 60 something pounds. Should have upped my bid, but so they'd obviously put a sniper bid in because it was like the last second. I didn't get a chance. Damn it. I might contact the seller, see if they'll do something. Is that really naughty? But yeah, I shall leave it there for today. While Jax is calm, I shall say goodbye. And I will see you at the end of May for the next Spin to Knit episode, and I shall see you in June for the next podcast. Until then, take care, my friends. Goodbye.